Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. We are here to have an honest conversation about taking charge of your health and real experiences, the challenges, the real tools that help us navigate lupus, autoimmune conditions, fibromyalgia, mental health, and caregiving. This space is really about community, connection, and learning from one another. I'm Estela Mata, and I'm the president and co-founder of Looms for Lupus, and we are a nonprofit organization that provides awareness, education, advocacy, support, and empowerment to people living with lupus, overlapping conditions like fibromyalgia and mental health, and their caregivers too. And we're excited to be here today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Juana Mata. I am one of the Mata sisters. Hola, soy Juana Mata. Somos las hermanas Mata, tejiendo una comunidad de esperanza.
Sí, and today's conversation will be bilingual, so nos van a ver de que estamos cambiando naturalmente de inglés a español y a lo mejor un poquito de Spanglish. So everyone feels included. We will be talking together, all of us, about real experiences, the challenges, and the tools that help us take charge of our health. So we're especially honored to welcome today Petra Duran, the Director of Patient Experience at IMU, and I'll bring her to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Petra Duran. I will also be going from Spanish to English. I'm from Barcelona, Spain. I'm here to talk about everything that Estela said, and I want to welcome these warm conversations. Introducir la investigación a las comunidades que a veces no se sienten representadas.
Sí, es muy cierto, porque si no nos sentimos representadas, parece que no existimos y eso no es así, ¿verdad? Existimos, aquí estamos, entonces tenemos que incluirnos a todos. So today we will talk about communication with our providers. We're going to talk about different things like tracking symptoms, staying consistent with treatment, making sure that you're taking the medications that you're supposed to be taking, and also how all of this helps us understand our conditions, how it helps us understand our bodies better, and how it helps us continue to thrive despite living with these autoimmune conditions.
Claro, y también como la investigación desde casa es importante, ayudarnos a entender mejor nuestros síntomas y los patrones que estamos viviendo, ¿no? Con los síntomas o con las condiciones que estamos viviendo.
Sí, correcto. Pero antes de empezar, un recordatorio, ¿verdad? Quick reminder, this is for general education and empowerment. We can't answer any specific medical questions about your care, about your treatment. For those things, please go to your doctor, your rheumatologist. They're the experts in your care, and we want to encourage everyone to make sure that you feel heard here, but also when it comes to your specific treatments, to go to your provider.
Definitivamente, Estela, este es un recordatorio que esta es una conversación educativa. No podemos responder preguntas médicas personales.
Sí, sí. Y con eso vamos a empezar nuestras conversaciones sobre diferentes temas de que vamos a platicarles y ojalá y usted, si está sintonizando, ponga en los comentarios su nombre, de dónde está sintonizando y preguntas. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our conversation, our communication right now about how we communicate with providers and what helps us communicate clearly and what gets in the way. And what we're going to do is we're going to be going back and forth in English and Spanish, but we want you to also be included in the conversation. So if you are tuning in, you can go ahead and put in your questions, your comments in the comment section. Remember, all of that is public, so you don't have to put anything specific that you do not want shared. So what we'll do is we're going to go, like we said, English and Spanish, and we're going to be talking on different topics. So the first topic or question that I always hear about is about communicating with our providers. What helps you communicate clearly? What helps you deliver that message and those questions to your providers? And Juana, I know you are a patient that lives with lupus. So can you share from your perspective, what has helped you with the communication and the engagement with your providers or your specialists?
Well, one of the things that really helped me have better communication with my provider is being prepared. Having my questions written on a piece of paper, because a lot of the times we understand that the providers, our medical providers, have limited time, and if we're prepared and we have our questions, when we get there, going straight to the point, asking the questions, and just that's one of the things that has helped me a lot. Una de las cosas que a mí me ayuda muchísimo es prepararme antes de mi visita con mi médico. Es algo que a mí me ha ayudado, y así cuando salgo de la cita con mi médico, ya las preguntas que yo tengo me las ha contestado.
Bueno, I'll start in English, sorry. Two things that I like to share. So I work for a biotech. I work very closely with patients daily. And two things I would say that I have learned from many conversations with patients is that, as Juana said, preparing your questions, having a list so that when you walk into the doctor, you know what you want to cover for that visit is super important. And then the second thing that I have learned is that some patients like to prepare what are some of the outcomes or some possible answers to those questions, because once, like when you're first diagnosed, um, some of the answers might be foreign to you, might be confusing, might be hard to understand. So if you Google and read and educate yourself a little bit before, you'll be more prepared for the answers. Y lo que he aprendido, yo trabajo en una biotech, entonces estoy constantemente hablando con pacientes, y dos cosas que me gustaría remarcar que he aprendido en las conversaciones con mis pacientes son, como ha dicho Juanita, el prepararse antes de una visita. Muy importante hacer una lista con preguntas. ¿Qué quieres sacar de esa visita? Porque sí, tienen el tiempo limitado y muchas veces cuesta la flexibilidad de pensar más allá de lo que tienes delante. Entonces, ¿qué quieres sacar? ¿Qué quieres preguntar? Y la segunda es entender qué o cuáles pueden ser algunas de esas respuestas, porque entonces una vez que las comunica al médico ya sabes qué significa o qué pueden ser los siguientes pasos. Entonces, yo diría eso.
Muy buenas respuestas. Para mí, una de las cosas que he escuchado mucho es de que la gente, los pacientes nos olvidamos, ¿verdad? No siempre nos vamos a recordar de toda la lista de cosas que queríamos preguntarle al médico. Entonces, muy importante de sí tomar una lista, tener la lista y prepararse para las consultas médicas. También lo que pueden hacer o una recomendación es llevar a su cuidador, llevar a su pareja, la persona que le puede ayudar, porque a veces si se nos olvida a nosotros, a ellos no se les va a olvidar. Y también para tomar nota de lo que se habló durante la visita, ¿no? Entonces, muy importante. What I was saying is, for me, like one of the things that has helped is not only taking the notes, like you guys had suggested, but also preparing, and then maybe taking your caregiver and your loved one to come with you to your office visit, because sometimes you may forget things, and sometimes you might also not remember what was discussed during your office visit. So very, very important. So I love these tips. Now, when you leave the office or when you leave the doctor's office, a lot of times, before you come back in 3 months, you should probably figure out a way to track your symptoms. Are the medications that you're taking helping you? Have they worsened your symptoms? Have they bettered your symptoms? If so, what do you notice, right? Do you notice an increase of this, a decrease of this? When do you notice it more? So I think tracking your symptoms is very, very important. And I think a key thing for a lot of us that live with autoimmune conditions. So Juana, for you, let's talk about how you track your symptoms. What helps you notice patterns? What helps you kind of track all of those symptoms that you're having?
Right. Well, one of the things that I have to say is that as somebody living with conditions, I think it's important for us to slow down every day and ask ourselves, how are we feeling today? Are we okay when we first wake up, right? And then from there, we start noticing, how we are, how we feel. And if there's anything new, write it down on a piece of paper or on your journal, or if you've had a pain for a couple of days, is the pain getting better or is the pain getting worse? So it's important to track that. And the pain level, how you're feeling, if you're having any rashes, are you sleeping okay? So just jotting down on a piece of paper or on your journal, what has changed. You can also use visuals. That's something that I like to use. I use the red color if I'm feeling like really bad, or green if I have a good day. So there's different days, and not what I use is going to be something that everyone is going to like to use. So I think it just depends, what kind of form you want to use and how you want to use to track your your symptoms. Una de las cosas que a mí me gusta hacer por lo regular es, cuando me despierto en la mañana, es como, ¿cómo es que me siento ahorita? ¿Cómo me siento? ¿No? Entonces es importante pues ya tener en su mente uno cómo me estoy sintiendo en este momento, y después pues si hay algún síntoma nuevo, es pues apuntarlo en una libretita para pues que aparte de que las personas que vivimos con lupus o con otras enfermedades autoinmunes, se nos olvida muy fácil lo que nos pasa media hora antes. Así es de que es importante siempre mantener algo en un papelito, una nota de cómo nos sentimos, si nos estamos sintiendo mejor, si estamos sintiendo más dolor o estamos sintiendo síntomas nuevas. Entonces es importante pues anotarlo. Muchas de las veces también yo uso como los colores. Si estoy sintiéndome muy mal o más mal que el día anterior o horas anteriores, pongo con una pluma roja o un lápiz rojo que pues mis síntomas están más fuertes, o verde que tengo un buen día. Así es de que cada persona va a usar un método diferente, pero hay que usar el método que mejor nos sirva a nosotros, ¿no? Entonces, es algo de esa manera, Estela, es como a mí me gusta pues tomar nota y cómo es que me está pasando en el día, ya que pues por lo regular a nosotros que vivimos con esas enfermedades se nos olvida, así es de que tomar nota es muy importante.
And I think it's super important to write it down because, as you said, not only sometimes you forget things, but things change. One day you feel one way, the next one you feel the other way. And if you're going to your doctor every 4 months, it's going to be really hard to use those 20 minutes of visit with your doctor and tell them, I felt this, and that, if you don't write it down. But I feel like it can also be sometimes frustrating because you write so much and then you get one lab draw and you're like, okay, this doesn't match. So my question to you, Juana, is with this method that you've developed that works for you for tracking, how does it relate to how you communicate that information with your with your providers? Entonces, creo que es súper importante el escribirlo, porque no solo hay veces que te puedes olvidar, sino es que un día te levantas y te encuentras mal, o te duele la rodilla, o tienes un dolor de cabeza. Al día siguiente estarás perfecto y la semana siguiente será otra historia. Entonces, si estamos yendo al médico cada 4 meses o tenemos todo esto escrito bien y bien estructurado, o cuando vas a la consulta del médico y tienes 20 minutos, es algo que es muy difícil comunicar. Entonces, muy difícil de comunicar y muy importante de que se comunique, porque un test de laboratorio no te va a decir francamente cómo estás, sino que te va a dar un poco más de información. Entonces, a ti, Juana, con los métodos que has desarrollado, ¿qué es un consejo que darías y cómo te funciona en la visita con el médico?
Well, this really works for me because when I meet with my doctor, which is usually every 3 months, I paint a big picture of what happened to me during these 3 months, or what happened within the last 2 weeks. If I've noticed any patterns, or if my symptoms are more frequent, say in the morning, midday, or afternoon. So it's a big picture that I'm painting to my doctor of what happened to me within those 3 months. So I think it's important, and it has helped me because a lot of the times with lupus patients or with patients with autoimmune conditions, our days are different every day. So for me, painting that big picture and for what happened in those 3 months has really helped me get the treatment that I need. Una de las maneras que a mí me ha funcionado mantener las notas de antes de tener la cita con el médico es, pues cuando voy con el médico es como darle una fotografía grande de lo que pasó en estos 3 meses, ¿no? O qué me pasó en las últimas 2 semanas, si mis síntomas estaban más fuertes, han disminuido. Entonces es pues dándole esa fotografía al doctor de lo que pasó en estos 3 meses, ¿no? Una de las cosas que en esta fotografía grande que le estoy pintando al doctor es como qué fueron los patterns, discúlpenme, los patrones los patrones que pasaron en estos 3 meses. En la mañana me dolían los huesos, o tuve un día estresado en los días durante el trabajo y mis síntomas fueron más fuertes, o mis síntomas son más frecuentes en la mañana, a mediodía o en la noche. Entonces, dándole esta información al doctor y mirando los patrones, mi cuidado y el medicamento o el tratamiento que el médico me da es más apropiado por lo que yo he pasado en estos 3 meses, ¿no?
Gracias.
Sí,
Thank you.
me encanta, porque a veces los laboratorios, muchas de las veces, los laboratorios enseñan una cosa y como se siente el paciente es completamente diferente. So one of the things that I love about the tracking of the symptoms is a lot of times with the lab work, you know, you go to your doctor and they're reviewing the lab work and they're like, oh, everything looks amazing. And you're like, I don't feel amazing. This is the worst I felt, and this is how I've been feeling. And so having that, I think, will not only help you show the doctor like this is the reality of it. I'm glad the lab work shows something, but I'm feeling something different. So I think it's so important because a lot of times we don't feel that we are heard and we don't feel seen. And I think it's very important to do both and say, okay, I understand that the lab work is showing this, but this is what I've been feeling. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed now more is that patients have that, I want to say, feel empowered to now tell the doctor, well, why is it that my lab work, you know, is showing that when I'm feeling like this? And so I think it empowers the patient to be able to have a voice and say, you know what, maybe this treatment's not helping me, or maybe we can try something new, or, you know, or are there any other options to help me with decreasing of the symptoms that I'm having because the treatment is not working as, you know, as maybe we thought, or, you know, things like that. So also very, very important. And I think that's one of the things. And as we get further later on before Petra presents the research she's doing, I think one of the things that I want to put in your mind right now is you have the power to make a difference in your care with taking action. And I'm going to repeat that again. You have the power to take charge of your health. And you know, it's so important for us to be seen and be heard, especially with people that have lupus or autoimmune conditions, because we, especially with lupus, there's not two people that are alike, not two people that have lupus or the same symptoms. And so it's very important for us to feel heard and seen. Now, I know we've been talking about, you know, the tracking of the symptoms, communicating with your provider, and maybe, you know, one of the things that we need to also talk about is staying consistent with your treatments and adhering to the treatments that the provider and you have chosen. So what helps you stay on track, Juana, when it comes to medications and treatments, and also, you know, kind of together with the tracking of the symptoms?
Well, Estela, let me tell you, you know, staying consistent isn't about willpower. It's about the support that we get and the structure, compassion for ourselves. And one of the things that helps me is stay on track is understanding why the treatment matters. How is that going to help me? So understanding that's very important, and creating a routine that fits my life. I work, so I have to, create that routine that's going to work for me. We're all different. We're all going to have different routines, but, making sure that we have that routine is very important. Having the support from our family and friends, I believe is also important. Sometimes we need a reminder, and tracking how we feel, when I take this medication in the morning, how do I feel? Is it better to take it in the afternoon or in the morning? So, it's important to keep track, and just setting, realistic goals for tracking our medication, for making sure that we stay on track with our treatment. Is very important. Let's see. And when we do speak with our doctor, just making sure that we talk to our doctor openly. And one of the things that I really feel is that, having the treatment with an agreement with our doctor, I think it really helps with us making sure that, that we do follow our treatment plan. Having that communication and that agreement with the doctor, I think it really helps. Una de las cosas que puedo decir que me mantienen al día con el tratamiento es, pues, entender por qué estoy en este tratamiento, entender por qué estoy tomando este medicamento. Tener una rutina es muy importante, ya que, pues, cada día es diferente para cada persona, ¿verdad? Entonces, mantener una rutina para tomar nuestros medicamentos es importante, porque muchas de las veces si no mantenemos esa rutina y estamos durante el día, la tomé, no la tomé, se puede olvidar si la tomamos o no. Entonces, mantener la rutina es importante. Creo que a mí eso me ha ayudado muchísimo. Y el apoyo de nuestros familiares, de nuestras amistades. A veces necesitamos ese recordatorio, ¿verdad? Y pues creo que el recordatorio no solamente es para recordarnos que necesitamos tomar esta medicina, sino también el recordatorio de que pues somos importantes para nuestros seres queridos. Entonces creo que es algo que nos ayuda muchísimo. Y otra de las cosas es pues registrar o tomar nota de cómo nos sentimos cuando tomamos el medicamento. Si tomamos el medicamento en la mañana antes del desayuno o después del desayuno, ¿qué manera es mejor? Y cómo fue que el médico nos explicó que vamos a tomar este medicamento. Entonces, eso es muy importante. Y pues también, más que nada, tener y establecer metas pequeñas, pero realísticas. ¿Qué es y cómo es que yo voy a tomar este medicamento? Entonces, es algo, Estela, que a mí me ha ayudado muchísimo. Entonces, y pues una de las cosas que yo siempre digo es que hay que ser amables, o tenemos que tomar en cuenta cómo nos estamos sintiendo, y pues quizás muchas de las veces no vamos a ser perfectos en cómo seguimos nuestra rutina de nuestros medicamentos, pero es importante, ¿verdad? Seguir y pues sentirnos bien.
I completely agree with what you said, Juana, and I think the key for me is feeling like a team. You need to feel like a team with your loved ones, but you need to feel like a team with your care team. Like, for me to trust the medication, and from what I've seen with conversations with patients, is you need to know why, or what's the plan with that medication. So staying true to how you're feeling, taking it. But one thing I put myself and I force myself to do is ask, when can I check in with you to see if that treatment is working? I want to have a plan to say, okay, if I have to wait 6 months or 1 month or 1 year, it doesn't matter. But I need to have an end goal date to really sit down with my care team and say, okay, how is this going? How am I feeling? Like, these symptoms, is this the medicine that we still want to move forward with? Así que yo estoy completamente de acuerdo con lo que ha dicho Juana y creo que es súper importante. Lo que yo remarcaría es que somos un equipo, o sea, al final tu familia, las personas que están alrededor tuyo que te cuidan y te quieren, están ahí para apoyarte, pero tus médicos también tienen que estar en ese equipo. Tú tienes que sentirte que confías en la decisión que ha tomado tu médico, que tú también tienes el poder de decidir si esa es una decisión en la que tú te sientes bien o no, porque al final, para que salga de tu voluntad, tienes que confiar, si no es imposible. Y yo lo que siempre me esfuerzo y es indiscutible para mí es tener una fecha límite para hacer una evaluación de cómo están yendo las cosas. O sea, si a mí me dicen un mes, 6 meses o un año, perfecto, perfecto, pero necesito poder saber que tengo esa fecha en la que estoy recogiendo la información para decidir si es algo en lo que quiero seguir hacia adelante o no.
Sí. Muy bien, y es muy cierto. And everything we've talked about, when it comes to communication, with your providers, communicating with them about your symptoms, about also tracking your symptoms and letting them know how it's been going, for the 3 months that you haven't seen them. And having that consistency is what really connects you to the work that, that you are doing with your care team, right? But also one of the things that I was thinking about is IMU and in you, Petra, and the role that you play in helping us as patients dealing with these conditions, how we can also, be part of that care team ourselves and make those decisions. So the doctor is an expert with the treatments and the care. So that's amazing. So we already have that conversation with him. The care team, which is, the nurses and maybe your physical therapist, your mental health therapist, they're part of your care team as well. But you, as a patient, is really the one that is in charge, right? So you're tracking your symptoms, communicating, and also part of that is making the decision of learning more of options that you have on adding on to the treatments that are already being done by the provider and that you're taking care of. But also, like, are there any research opportunities that you can do? Is there something you can do at home, besides what your providers already discussed with you, right? And this can include, for mental health, let's say, for example, if a lot of the stress is what triggers the flares. So what I want to do is I want to learn how I can prevent all of this stress and all these flares from happening. So what do? I practice mindfulness. I practice meditation. I practice breathing techniques. Maybe I do a little bit of self-care, maybe my nutrition. I do more stretches and physical activity. That's one thing that I can do, right? As far as for my mental health and my physical health. But also, what can I do or be part of that can help me with all of this, right? And I think one of the things that EMU is doing is that it's giving us, the patients, that resource, that tool, that opportunity to take charge of our health in a very different way. And so what I'm going to do now, Petra, is I'm going to pass it to you so you can do the presentation about the research that you guys are doing and how these patient-centered research is really helping us, the lupus patients, the autoimmune community, help us take charge of our health in a different way, in other new ways that are happening. And I'll say it in Spanish before I put it on to you. Una cosa de las que estábamos hablando fue comunicación con nuestros proveedores, de cómo monitoreamos nuestros síntomas, de tener esa consistencia de poder conectarnos con los doctores y decirles que nos ha ayudado, si el tratamiento nos ha ayudado a mejorar nuestros síntomas. Pero también tenemos que nosotros tomar cargo de nuestra salud y así como lo hacemos yendo al doctor, tomándonos nuestros tratamientos, pero también tenemos que tomar cargo de nuestro bienestar completo, ¿no? Nuestra salud mental. Una de las cosas que yo hago es practico respiraciones profundas, trato de hacer cosas que me van a ayudar con mi salud mental, pero también cosas que quizás me van a nutrir mejor a mi físico. Entonces, tomar esas riendas de lo que podemos hacer y empoderarnos. Y una de las cosas que vamos a hacer hoy es vamos a aprender de cómo también podemos empoderarnos utilizando métodos fuera de las cosas que podemos hacer con nuestro médico, sino fuera y cosas que podemos hacer en nuestra casa, como participar en estos ensayos clínicos, pero más bien de ensayos o estar en estudios que podemos participar, que nos puedan ayudar a comprender más qué es lo que nos está pasando. Entonces, para eso voy a traer a la experta Petra para que ella nos hable un poquito más sobre estos ensayos clínicos que están pasando.
Gracias, Estela. Gracias. Thank you so much, Estela. So at EMU, our goal is to give patients tools to add an additional layer to their tracking systems. So right now we've been talking about symptoms. We've been talking about how to prepare for a doctor's visits. So what our goal is and where we come in is we're adding a molecular layer to your story. So we've designed a way to collect a small blood sample from your arm. So we send you a box home. You're gonna collect, so it's flexible at your earliest convenience. It's 400 microliters, which is approximately 3 drops of blood, and you're gonna send it back to us. So no clinic visits, no pain, you don't need assistance, you don't need to schedule with anyone else. You just collect at your own time, send it back to us, and we have validated a variety of assays. So we analyze then the blood, and we can study the biomarkers. What this is doing is it's giving us a picture of what your body is doing at that moment. You guys know the immune system is changing constantly. One day you feel one way, the other day you feel the other way, and that is only being tracked in your journal right now. So we come in, and how we come in is we're able to collect a sample at that time and then study it and put that information down so that in the future you can bring it to your doctor. And one of the research opportunities we have right now is the Lupus steroid tapering study. Our goal, here it is. Let me pause for a second. Let me do the intro in Spanish and then I'll tell you about this study. En EMU, nuestro objetivo es añadirle una capa de información sobre cómo está tu cuerpo a tu historia. Ahora mismo hemos estado hablando de síntomas, de cómo escribirlos en tu libreta para prepararte para la visita para el médico, pero nos falta información. Durante esos 3 meses, 4 meses, 5 meses que pasan entre las visitas, falta información. Entonces nosotros hemos conseguido desarrollar un método, que como podéis ver en la foto es con un aparatito, en los que tú recoges una muestra desde casa, cuando te vaya a ti mejor, nos la mandas y la analizamos. Y de este modo podemos recoger muestras de un modo muy cómodo, porque no tienes que ir al médico, no tienes que coordinar con nadie, no duele. Y son muestras que en un futuro, mientras las recoges, las vas a poder llevar al médico. Entonces, here's the lupus steroid tapering study. And our goal, after talking to many lupus patients, we saw that there was a gap of information. We already knew that. And that's the goal of EMU. But with lupus patients specifically, it was the process of tapering off your steroids. Right now, and Juana can tell us more, you are put on steroids, and the process of going down, you do it guided with your physician, but it's a trial and error process. And a lot of the times when you go down to a lower dose, some people is 5, some people is 2.5, it becomes really, really hard to taper completely off the steroids. And you don't know, you're doing it in the dark. You don't have the data to know if your body is ready to go down or not. Sometimes you know, because you know your body better than anyone, that, hey, I'm not feeling well, or hey, I have a headache, or I have joint pain. I'm not ready. I'm going to push it. But it's really decisions that you're making in the dark that could benefit of a test that helps you make that decision for you and for your doctors. So we designed the lupus steroid tapering study. It's 6 months. Our goal is to study during those 6 months 120 patients that are on steroids tapering down. And so we're going to send you the box home. You're going to collect once a month or when you go down on your dose, and the device goes on the arm, you press it, you're not gonna feel anything. You let go. Juana can tell us about that because she's done it. You're gonna collect the sample. You're gonna ship it back in the box we gave you. We include a prepaid return label, and you can drop it off at FedEx or text us and be like, "Hey Petra, I can't drop it off," and I'll send someone to come get it from your home. And then we're gonna study it. And our goal with this study is to find those patterns that can help us predict safe stereotapering and flares, because we'll be able to see how your body is acting at each time point, and that's going to give us information to say, hey, we saw that these last 4 times your genes were at this level and you ended up having a flare. So in the future, that's going to be a heads up for you of, hey, you might not feel it yet, but we saw this pattern in the past that has led to a flare or a not successful taper. Wait, or take it easy, or take a rest day, So it's completely from home, flexible, and there's $25 per sample. And the best part and the coolest part for me is that you get your personal immune report back. So back to what Estela was saying, data is empowerment, it's knowledge. And you can bring that report to your doctor. It's information that in the future we'll be able to make decisions out of it. Right now it's just research, but you get to know your biology. It's an extra addition to getting to know your biology. El estudio de lupus es completamente desde casa y nuestro objetivo, el estudio nació a través de las conversaciones que tuvimos con muchos pacientes de lupus. En las enfermedades autoinmunológicas, como hemos estado hablando hasta ahora, es muy difícil hacer que tus síntomas encajen con lo que demuestra un resultado de laboratorio. Entonces, nosotros hemos creado IMU, la empresa, para desarrollar herramientas de recoger muestras en estos time points, flares, cuando tienes brotes, cuando te encuentras mal, cuando te encuentras bien, cuando estás cambiando tratamientos, todo desde casa. No hay visitas, no tienes que coordinar con nadie. Entonces, el estudio es para acompañar y desarrollar herramientas que ayudarán a los pacientes de lupus que están haciendo una reducción de esteroides, porque es un proceso que ahora mismo se están haciendo con los médicos, pero lo haces tú solo y prueba y a ver si tu cuerpo reacciona bien. Y es un proceso que asusta, que la mayoría de pacientes llegan a dosis de 5 miligramos o 2 miligramos y llegar a 0 después les es imposible o muy difícil. Entonces, eso acaba doliendo en tu cuerpo o los brotes son brutales. Entonces, nuestro objetivo es estudiarlo durante 6 meses con 120 pacientes y de ahí desarrollar un test que se pueda usar desde casa. Entonces, el estudio es de 6 a 9 muestras desde casa. Recogerás una vez al mes una muestra que se pone el aparato, tú estás normal en tu vida y el día que te toca hacer la muestra pones el aparato en el brazo. Aprieta porque no vas a notar nada, tienes que apretar hasta que oigas clic. Entonces, lo sueltas y de ahí recogemos 3 gotas de sangre que nos las mandas de vuelta a nosotros. Entonces, nosotros lo procesamos y además te damos el ticket de vuelta para FedEx ya pagado. Podemos coordinar para recoger nosotros el paquete desde casa y cada muestra tiene $25 de compensation, de recompensa. Y además tienes un report, un documento de 26 páginas con todos los genes y células procesadas de las muestras que has participado en el estudio. Todas. Un documento de 26 páginas. Es alucinante. Así que, de momento, estamos todos, no sé qué diréis vosotras, pero creo que todos muy emocionados con este estudio. Nuestro objetivo es acompañaros y ayudaros, no es aportar una nueva medicina, que está muy bien aportar medicinas, es simplemente ayudaros con las que ya existen, que son buenas, a tener un buen manejo. Our goal is to let you use the tools and medicine that's nowadays available to really make it what we call precision medicine, tailored to you. You need to know when it's a good time and what your body is saying to make decisions. And nowadays, the way research studies are built and the way drugs are developed are not targeting that, are not capturing that information from patients that is, in my opinion, mandatory.
Thank you, Petra. Oh my goodness. It's so amazing to see what you're doing, and I think precision medicine is something that should always be practiced across the way for everyone, for any disease, because we are unique. Each one of us is very unique, and all these treatments, even though they're amazing, maybe FDA approved, and maybe there were clinical studies or clinical trials, indicating how amazing these treatments are. We don't know how they are going to be impacting us individually, because we are all different. Men and women, we are different, but also us as individuals, we are different. So we need things to be specifically for us. And I think what you're doing, what EMU is doing with this lupus research study, is an amazing thing, especially for the lupus community. So I am so excited about it. And I will tell you why it's exciting for the lupus community. So in the lupus community, there are FDA approved treatments, but there's also guidelines for specific way of how treatments are given to patients, or guidelines on how to treat lupus. And so the American College of Rheumatology came up with new guidelines. And these new guidelines are the ACR lupus guidelines, if you will. And these new ACR guidelines focus on 3 big shifts. Excuse me. And these 3 big shifts are universal hydroxychloroquine, which is what a lot of patients take. They take Plaquenil. It's also called Plaquenil. But they also take, other treatments like steroids. So aggressive steroid minimization. So what they're trying to do is minimize or decrease or give less steroids to the patients, right? And I think with your study, it fits special with all these patients, because a lot of patients are in a very aggressive steroid treatments. Yes. And so it's very, very important. Obviously there's also other types of treatments that are being given to the patients that are like include immunosuppressants and biologics. But the two main things that I want to focus on is, one, the patient being able to take charge of their health and learning about if they are taking steroid treatments right now. Excuse me, I don't know why my voice started cracking, but
it's the emotion.
Yes, right. But these steroid treatments and minimizing that intake is what your study is focusing on. And I think it's very important. So the use of steroids, is obviously something that's impacting a lot of patients. So we want to capture that for you as a patient. How is it working for you? How is it going to be working? How is it impacting you at a cellular level? Mm-hmm. And I think with EMU, with this study that you're doing, that's what it's going to show. And not only that, you're going to pay the patient that lives with lupus for giving you that sample that is going to gather the information that you're going to give back to the patient to empower the patient to be able to share with their providers and also learn more about what is happening inside our bodies, right? And so I think it's very, very important. And I know I kind of highlighted and shifted a little from that, but I wanted to bring that perspective in about how the monitoring of the tapering off of the steroids is so important, and in your study and how that study can help us identify that, right?
Absolutely. Everything you said is a yes.
Right, yeah. And I was going to say, y ahora lo ibas a decir en español, pero dije tanto, pero la cosa clave aquí es de que los nuevos guías que están utilizando los reumatólogos ahorita para tratar a pacientes que viven con lupus, que quizás estén tomando tratamientos que les... a ver, dilo otra vez.
Inmunosupresores.
Supresores, there you go. Es un trabalenguas.
Literal.
Entonces, también aparte de eso, lo que están haciendo es de que están tratando de disminuir el tratamiento con esteroides, ¿no? Entonces, es muy importante este estudio porque no solamente va a captar la reacción que está tomando su cuerpo a nivel celular, pero también el reporte que va a recibir el paciente se lo puede enseñar a su médico de cabecera o a su especialista. Entonces, yo pienso que es una forma empoderante de empoderar a nuestra comunidad para tomar cargo de nuestros tratamientos, de qué es lo que hacemos, ¿no? Cuando se trata de nuestro cuidado. Entonces, IMU, y lo que Petra nos acaba de demostrar es un estudio que yo pienso que nos va a ayudar mucho a nuestra comunidad.
And two more things to add to that. So right now, the way studies are designed or the way drugs are developed with the data that's extracted, a lot of the times it's not inclusive to everyone. So think about the United States and then think about who goes to the hospital and participates in a clinical trial. There's so many people that are left out because they don't have someone that can drive them, because they are not part of a care team that actually is involved in academic studies or research. So the way that EMU has developed their studies is if you have a home, the same way you can receive an Amazon package, you can receive an EMU box. So right now, we're collecting data that's organically matching 1000% the US demographics, the US population. That's data that needs to be out there, needs to be included in so many other research opportunities. So what we do at EMU is we have a revenue sharing program that has been IRB approved, and that's massive news, because when you join a research study, you get automatically assigned a de-identified participant ID. So say, Estela, you join EMU, you'll get participant ID 1157. Okay, no one else is gonna know who you are, no one. But if after the study that data is licensed for research opportunity, for other research opportunities, because it's valuable data, you're also gonna get some money back from that data, and no one's gonna know that was you. So data is safe, data privacy is a top priority for us, but it's also a priority for our patients to know that they're doing a really important impact and having an impact in research, and to know what happens with their contributions all throughout the way, along the way. You know what I mean. Así que lo que quería deciros así rápido es que es súper importante representar demográficamente cómo es una población o sea, por ejemplo, el lupus, 95% mujeres, y la mayoría latino o African American. ¿Tú crees que hoy en día en los estudios de lupus esas poblaciones están representadas? No, no lo están. Entonces, ¿por qué? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? Pues que los estudios están diseñados de una forma que no recoge, que no dice hola, bienvenido a esta gente, porque no hay quien les pueda conducir, o porque sus médicos no están atentos o no quieren participar en estudios o simplemente no participan. Entonces, de la forma que hemos diseñado IMU es asegurándonos al 100% que todo el mundo puede participar. Porque si tú recibes un paquete de Amazon, si tú tienes una casa a la que abres la puerta y entras, tú puedes recibir un paquete de IMU. Entonces, tú puedes participar en IMU. Todo está diseñado para que sea cómodo, para que sea accesible. Entonces, a la que participas en IMU, tú metes tus datos, dices quiero participar. Se te asigna un ID, o sea, un número. Entonces, toda tu información que linkea ese número a ti queda guardada en un cajón, a salvo. Ni la gente en el laboratorio de Immune sabe quién eres. Entonces, hemos aprobado con el IRB, que esto es una noticia alucinante que quiero sacar a los news, o sea, si hay algún reportero por aquí, que me escriba, pero muy importante, mantener al día a los pacientes con lo que está pasando. Igual que te pagamos ahora, si tus datos van a ser utilizados para otras investigaciones en un futuro, porque la gente los necesita, porque nosotros estamos demostrando demográficamente la población de Estados Unidos. Tú deberías tener ese dinero también, o sea, una parte. Entonces, ya lo tenemos aprobado. Así que así, en resumen, se queda mucha información, pero tus datos son seguros, se te asigna un número, si tus datos luego van a otra investigación, no sabrán quién eres tú, simplemente sabrán que pues 4 personas con lupus que estaban en plaquenil steroids no consiguieron reducir de tal a tal dosis, porque es información que se necesita. Tú en ese momento también recibirás un pago.
See, and one of the things, thank you for sharing all of that, because one of the things that we want to make sure, and this is why we do what we do and sharing information and having these conversations, is because not everyone gets to be part of conversations about participating in clinical trials, participating in research. Not everyone gets this information from their providers. No todos obtienen esta información de cómo pueden participar en ensayos clínicos o en estudios científicos de sus proveedores. Entonces, por eso nosotros hacemos estas comunicación, estos en vivos para poder traerles información que les va a ayudar a ustedes como pacientes para poder sentirse empoderados y poder decir, ¿sabes qué? Yo quiero participar en esto. ¿Por qué no puedo yo? Entonces, en realidad es una ayuda, mucha ayuda que estamos tratando de brindar. So, si tienen preguntas, pónganlas en los comentarios y se las vamos a contestar. Aquí está Petra, ella es la experta. También puse el link del estudio y está en la pantalla por si tienen su teléfono con el QR code. So, one of the things that I was just, highlighting is these conversations that we bring up, and the reason we do these lives is because we want to bring the information and resources to our community. Because why? Not all this information is given to the patients. If you go to see your rheumatologist, sometimes they may not bring it up. It may not be because they don't want to. It's just limited time. So you need to be able to learn about different studies that you can participate in, like this research study, different clinical trials that are out there for you to participate in. Honestly, we're not all included in these conversations. We're not all included or available to get this information. So we want to bring it to you. One of the things that we want you to know is that a lot of these studies that are out there, these clinical studies, research studies, and clinical trials are voluntary. You have the option of being part of it. This one in particular is for lupus patients, and it will pay you, and the package will be sent to your home. Just like when you're ordering your Prime packages and you're excited to get it, this is going to be about you and your care. So you will get the package. Any information or questions that you have, you go directly to Petra. They also pay you and give you an incentive to be part of this. And by the way, Looms for Lupus is just here to relay the information. Again, this is something that will benefit you as a person, as an individual, because you're going to be getting the information back, and that's what's going to help you. And then number 2, you don't have to go to a clinic. You don't have to go to a research lab. Everything comes to you. You do it at the comfort of your home, and it's very easy to do because, I don't know if you've seen it, like we're always looking at, what's going on in the community, and like in the diabetes community, they put something similar. They put up insert one of those little patches on their body, and they say it's not painful. This is something similar. You just apply it. It literally sucks your blood out, and then you send the sample over to the lab. And most importantly, it is safe. It has already been approved, a safety. It is a study that can help you and can help other people. Your data is going to be private. Like, it's not going to be shared with anyone else. It's going to be de-identified, so they can't say, me, Estela, I participated in this, and the person, and that I live in this location and that I have this condition, or that none of that is shared. So privacy is the number one thing. And then most importantly, it's going to help you. And you get to participate in something that's going to help you and future generations. And I think, Juana, you could probably say something to this. You've been part of a lot of like clinical trials and research studies. What do you think about this research study? Is this something that you recommend?
Absolutely. I mean, I have no words to explain other than what Petra had already mentioned. I mean, as for me, I think the information that we get as patients is very valuable. And we thank EMU for doing this study. And absolutely, I've participated in other studies and I absolutely recommend it. I think it's great for us patients. And that also makes me feel like I matter. And so definitely I highly recommend, clinical studies, this research. Una de las cosas que les estoy explicando es de que yo definitivamente, pues recomiendo, yo he participado en varios estudios científicos y he participado y me encanta participar porque no solamente me está ayudando a mí en el presente, a recibir información que es muy, pero muy importante para mí, pero también estoy participando porque pues esto nos va a ayudar para el futuro, para nuestras generaciones a venir, ¿no? Entonces, definitivamente yo creo que es muy importante participar y creo que es que no estamos arriesgando y creo que pues definitivamente esto nos va a ayudar ahorita a nosotros y a nuestras generaciones por venir.
Sí, y una de las cosas, porque ya casi se nos va a ir el tiempo, pero lo que les iba a decir es, no tienen oportunidad de ponerlos en los comentarios preguntas si tienen preguntas. So please put your questions if you have any questions in regards to this study in the comment section. We can bring it up. We did have, several people logging in, from Ohio, from New Mexico, and just different areas, and here in California. So we want to make sure that this information is delivered to you. You can participate in this research. I included the link in the comment section. So if you want to participate or want more information, you can. We also have, I think in the link that I put, it has the link to EMU's website, right, Petra? The one that you gave me?
Yes.
Okay,
it has the link to sign up for the study.
Oh, perfect. Yes. And so if you need to reach out to us or need to reach out to Petra, please let us know. We're on social media. You can visit our websites. We will have also in Looms for Lupus website a link to EMU. So that way, if you forget, like, what is, EMU, how do you spell EMU? How do I get to the research? We're going to have that. And this recording is going to stay on our Facebook Live and also in YouTube. So you can come back to reference it if you need it. Again, this is informational. This is great resource for the patients, for the lupus community. And also know that we will report back on what this research is going to find, because I know
Absolutely.
that EMU had done a study in a different demographic.
It was IBD and RA.
Yeah, on rheumatoid arthritis and IBD. And so they were able to present their findings. So this closes the loop. Right now, you're learning about it. You get to participate in the study. You get to get the results, and then you get to hear what happened to that study, who was included in the study, and what were the outcomes. So we are closing the whole loop. So you're not going to see, this is not the first and only time you're going to see Petra. We are continuing to work with EMU. We are continuing to work with Petra, and we are going to come back and revisit and share with you the results of this study. But the one thing you do need to know right now is this study is happening. So please, if you are taking steroids, if you're that's part of your treatment and you're being tapered off, this is a great opportunity for you to join and to just take charge of your health, right? And again, I don't see any questions. Do you have any final say or any final quote or anything that you guys want to share, Juana and Petra, before we close?
I want to say thank you to both of you because you are really every day out there for the patients and trying to bring the resources to everyone. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I am very thankful to be doing this with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Petra, for taking time, for learning, but most importantly, for continuing to seek learning from patients and including all of us. You know, it's so important for us to feel seen, to feel heard, and to know that we matter. And being and taking charge of our health is one thing that does matter. It matters to me and it matters to our community. So with that, I will leave you. And remember, together we are knitting a community of hope. And, you know, gracias a todos por sintonizar. Y recuerden, nosotros seguimos aquí para ustedes, con ustedes. Estamos tejiendo una comunidad de esperanza. Gracias. Hasta luego.
Gracias.